Bucharest is the third European city in time lost by traffic jams. The equivalent of time lost by traffic jams in Bucharest is the equivalent yearly of the 8 days.
Aproape 40% dintre voi, cei care ne urmăriți în fiecare săptămână, sunteți și abonații noștri și vă mulțumim, ne flatează, vă așteptăm și pe restul de 60% să fiți abonații noștri dând click pe acest frumos buton de aici care se numește abonează sau subscribe. Astfel acest canal va fi și mai valoros și ne va permite să aducem invitați, cum este și invitatul de astăzi, pe numele său Carlos Moreno. Carlos, welcome to Cluj and to Romania.
Thank you so much for this kind invitation. Great pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Voi face acest material împreună cu bunul meu prieten și partener Mihai Cima. Suntem împreună în proiectul NZB Expo, de unde și filmăm astăzi la Cluj. Mihai, mulțumesc că suntem împreună astăzi.
Salutare, Dan, mulțumesc.
I'm going to switch to English because unfortunately Carlos knows only a few words in Romanian, but we can try.
Absolutely, I confirm.
As probably you already know, Carlos Moreno is the creator and author of the book named 15-Minute City and the concept of 15-Minute City. Basically, the concept of urbanistic development for cities that combine all the functions that humans need in order to function and to live comfortably a happy life. So we're going to speak today about 15-Minute City, about the concept that surrounds this trademark for urbanism. And because probably not all of you know about this concept, I'm going to ask directly Carlos, how can you explain this concept in a way that everyone can understand?
Of course, if we wanted to put it in a shell, this 15-minute city concept, three short items. The first one, we need to develop a polycentered city, lot of activities in all city, to break out with this zonification, segmentation, even gentrification, based on this different zones specialized for each one of activities. We wanted to promote this polycentered way for offering a lot of services for satisfying our essential daily needs. Local shops, commerce, medical services, educational activities, culture activities, to have the decentralized places for working, to regenerate our public space for people, not for cars, to generate a lot of activities in these public spaces for promoting gender mixity, take care of fragile people, to have more vibrant neighborhoods. The second one, to regenerate our economy by more local employment, local activities, shorter circuits, to use raw materials to revigorate our local economy. And the third point, to decarbonize, to contribute for decarbonizing our city, given that we could have an access to these different services by a low carbon mobility, low carbon active mobility on foot, by bike or public transportation. In one word, this is the humanistic way for having a happy polycentric proximity.
That sounds excellent, and I know that many cities around the world have followed your advices and your piece of advice, and I saw many models and examples of cities that combine basically all the functions that you say in a decentralized way. And one of them is, of course, Paris, where you are the councillor of the city mayor, Anne Hidalgo. And I know that you two guys form a perfect team. Maybe you can give us a few words about your experience with Paris and how things changed since you are advisor for the mayor.
Yes, of course. I would like to pay tribute to the in permanence always to the mayor Anne Hidalgo, given that she is a really visionary pioneer mayor. And in November 2019, she embraced this concept for proposing this way as the backbone of her new urban policy for the electoral campaign in 2020. She won with this concept, the 15th city for Paris, in order to develop this proximity. And after winning the municipal election, Anne Hidalgo has started immediately to transform, to continue to transform Paris with this concept. The first measures took by Anne Hidalgo was to open the schoolyards during the weekend. Wow. This is the symbolic measure, but at the same time, very powerful decision. We have 280 schools in Paris, just always 400 meters, and the decision for opening the schoolyard during the weekend is in fact a decision for offering this space as a public space for neighbors. Mm-hmm. And just after that, she has decided to ban cars of the streets in front of the schools.
It's perfect.
Kids, to connect the schoolyards with the street in front of,
with the roads, yeah.
And to transform 280 streets in front of the schools in 200 new mini parks. Mm-hmm. Pedestrian ways, equipments, visualization. Mm-hmm. This one of the most symbolic measure. But of course, she has deployed a lot of other measures to support local shops, local commerce, with the creation of the Commercial Property Agency of the City of Paris for installing in all city artisan bakery, fishery, recycle points, bookstore. She has developed as well a lot of investments for creating medical services in proximity, in particular after the COVID-19, mm-hmm. to recreate the new places for people instead of the roundabout, to develop more walkability, more bikeability, and the most important point is in fact to propose, to vote by the Paris City Council the new bioclimate local Paris urban plan. This is the really strategic decision. The last time when the city of Paris has voted the local urban plan was in 2000, 23 wow. years after. Uh-huh. Anne Hidalgo proposed this new bioclimate urban plan with this vision, hyper proximity, nature as common good, or proximity with a lot of different services, etc. And this bioclimate local urban plan will be available at least for the next 10-15 years. In this way, we will have this vision for the short, mid, even long term.
That's excellent.
Carlos, you've been many times in Romania. Mm-hmm. I think you like Romania.
I like it.
Let me ask you, can we make Bucharest a 50-minute city concept?
Of course, all cities today have a possibility for developing this transformation.
Be happy with this a little bit.
The 50-minute city concept is totally available for cities regardless of the size of density. In fact, this is very important for the audience to understand that the less important point in the 15-minute city is the number of minutes. This is very important because we have today around the world, in the 5 continents, a lot of different implementation of this concept. The 50-minute city concept, the 30 minutes territory, the 20-minute neighborhood, the 20 minutes territory, the vital neighborhood, the community circle of proximity, the happy proximity, etc., etc. We have a lot of nicknames. Why? Because this concept, this is an ambitious plan for transforming with the radical different urban strategy our livability in cities. This is not a dox. This is not a checklist. This is not a score. This is a global framework for offering a new lifestyle, a new work style. Instead, we need to have more polycentric cities, to develop the multi-purpose functions for buildings that existed today, the intensive use of infrastructures, more walkability, more livability. We need to reach this high-quality societal life. In Bucharest, it's totally available to transform the city. And at the same time, we need 3 elements for having a real capability for acting in this way. The first one, we need a local governance totally involved in this transformation. Anne Hidalgo said, I wanted to transform this city with the 15-minute city, and after winning the elections, she went straight in this way. Today, after the Olympic game, worldwide, we could observe.
In how many years did Paris transform in 15-minute city?
In fact, Anne Hidalgo has started this transformation in 2020, but we don't need to define the number of years for going.
So Carlos, it was the COVID plan that started this in Paris?
Yeah, the COVID was the spark point for not for starting, but for accelerating.
Accelerating, yes.
Yeah, for accelerating, given that we needed to develop, after the COVID-19, more medical services in proximity. We could observe the disastrous consequences of the absence of medical services in proximity when you had the overcrowded hospitals with a lot of different people with the different situations in the absence of the local services. We could observe during the COVID the absence of local shops in proximity, the absence of green areas, the cultural activities, and we could observe as well that during the COVID, a lot of people have discovered their neighbors. During the COVID, we could discover that in my building we have a lot of different unknown people.
There are people over there.
Even I'm not alone in my building.
Exactly. That is life.
And to cross different activities. In reality, in Bucharest, we need the commitment, the real involvement of the local governance for generating an ambitious plan. Secondly, we need to discuss with the stakeholders, with the private sector, for creating a synergy for switching the former business model of the private sector.
Yes.
The real estate sector, for example, needs to switch from the single function of buildings for generating this new business model based on more business mixity.
Yes.
And the first point, we need as well to generate the local citizen empowerment, to have citizens totally committed in the way for taking part in this transformation.
But Carlos, this is the hardest part. So the citizen will be like, I think 80% will be like, oh no, I don't need that. I want the car to be in the center and the parking slot and something like that. This is in Romania, in Bucharest. We see this. And we don't know, we don't know when we can, in how many years we can educate these people.
I have a different point of view.
Please.
We have today, worldwide, but this is the case today in Europe, a dramatic situation with the impact of global warming.
Yes.
3 days ago, in Spain,
Yes, in Valencia.
Valencia.
Wow.
What is the situation in Valencia today? At least 211 people died, and even more.
More than that.
We have today more than almost 2,000 people missing today. And the images, the pictures are
Yes.
totally amazing.
It's a disaster.
Yeah,
disaster.
it's a disaster.
What is the situation in Valencia? In Valencia, we had for many years a mayor totally committed for decarbonizing the city, for creating walkability, bikeability, for reducing the role of cars, etc., etc. For the last elections, we had unfortunately a new mayor, and the first point was we need more cars in cities.
Yeah.
We don't need more bike lanes. This climate impact in Valencia, this not only an impact in the city, unfortunately with a lot of people injured or died, we have the amazing economical consequences.
Yes.
The economical sector of insurance, the economical sector of the reinsurance are in a dramatic situation. Tomorrow, this same situation will be replicated in different cities in Europe, including in Romania, because we have today a new global situation. The climate change is irreversible with the unexpected consequences. I went 3 weeks ago, one month ago, to Budapest.
Okay.
I went in the same period with the Boris meteorological crisis.
Yeah, with
What-
the rising waters. Yeah.
Yeah,
right,
the Danube. The
Yes.
Danube.
Yes.
The pictures are totally awful. In Hungary,
Mhm.
in Slovakia, in a lot of different places, and this is totally concrete as situation. In Bucharest, I said to different citizens, you are sure that cars are totally necessary for your daily life? You're wrong. You're wrong because this is the short-term vision. Tomorrow, when we will have the same situation in Valencia, we will observe that this is totally unsustainable. We need to change this way.
Carlos, people forget. They saw the television today, but in 6 months they'll forget this.
Mm.
You know about this thing? I heard that in Barcelona and also probably in Paris, but maybe you can confirm, there were people getting rid of the signs with no car zone. You saw the pictures? They were basically removing the traffic signs that say no car zone, so no traffic zone. It was not a revolution, but close to revolt on this topic. Of course, we are big fans of pedestrian areas and getting rid of the cars. I took a lot of hate on this topic in some of my materials because Romanians do love cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the end, how do we balance the two worlds? I totally agree with you, and probably most of the educated people totally agree with you.
Yes.
How do we use the leverage of what happens and the vision of a better world in order to make people understand that this is the true way of living, a comfortable way of living without pollution, without cars, without traffic, with more pedestrian areas and more means of transportation that follow?
Our experiences around the world in this way are today very interesting for having an analysis and suggestions. The first point, the citizen dwellers unfortunately are unconscious of the importance for switching radically as far as concern their lifestyle, because for 7 decades people have considered that a normal life is to have a car, long distances, long commute,
Exactly.
solidification. For this same period, the usual business, in particular in the real estate, was in the same way. Solidification, corporate business district, residential areas, cultural activities. It is the usual business for 7 decades more.
Yes.
So it was like segregation of functionality. So they run together.
Absolutely.
It was an area for residential, an area for business, an area for entertainment, and you're commuting all the time between these areas, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is the storytelling of our normal life. At the same time, in the 21st century, global warming is a reality. We will have more and more the disastrous ecological and economical impacts. We have at the same time the new generation, the young generation that they want to live in a other way, different. What was the situation in Amsterdam? Today, all people said Amsterdam is a very, very great city. All people have been using bikes. But what was the situation in Amsterdam in 1972? Amsterdam was the city in the world with most children killed
By cars.
by cars. 3,500 accidents by cars. And at this moment, in 1972, after the children, the son of a journalist was killed, they have started a movement. Stop to kill our children. This movement, in fact, has totally transformed Amsterdam. In 1992, Amsterdam was totally transformed for becoming this Amsterdam
So
that all
in
people love today.
22 years
22
for
years.
for a very good country, the politics are good there, economics are good. In Romania we don't have that.
Yeah, this was the case in Amsterdam.
We should double, Carlos. So it's 40 years for us.
No.
No, we don't have what it is.
Yeah,
So we don't have. So give us the good example. So
the importance is not the number of years. The important is how could we find the good leverage for changing.
Yeah.
We have today the remote job is very currently, it's usual.
But Carlos, I understand that the economic is the key, not the politics, the economic.
Both. The political decisions are totally intertwined with the economical business model. The turning point today is, in fact, on the one hand, with the impact of global warming, we have the disastrous impact in our economy. We will observe a lot of economical stakeholders totally committed for switching from the former model towards a new model. For example, instead of to continue to build buildings so far just in a single functions, we have today a lot of different stakeholders that have switched their business model for proposing the multi-purpose function, for proposing the new areas more useful, for generating the business model with the mix with the local jobs, the local commerce, etc. We will have at the same time this convergence between the politics for offering a new perspective, in particular in front of climate change, and the economical sectors for finding the new business model. With the COVID-19, we have observed in just a few weeks this radical change from the corporate business district as the 100% of physical presence with the long commute, daily long commute of 2 hours here, 4 hours. It was finished in a just
couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And today, the mainly cities around the world are their corporate business districts in failure. And we have today this massive movement of real estaters for regenerating a new business model. And this is available in France, in Spain, in UK, in New York. This is the new worldwide situation. At the same time, this is the first time when anyone has proposed the remote jobs. In 1972, Jack Niels, the engineer in the USA, he proposed the remote job in 1972. This was a success, an economical success. But at this moment, the usual business said we need the physical presence of people because
they're more performant.
Yes.
This formality is for trusting in people when people are present. Today, this is totally normal to have this hybridization in the business. I am totally convinced that we will be constrained for changing our business model in our daily life, in particular for working differently, for reducing the use of the individual cars. Pollution is today a really dangerous threat for our urban health. The fine particles in cities is the equivalent of the sugar for our personal life. The fine particles are the generator of the very significant diseases 2 years after, 3 years after. In reality, we don't have a choice for changing.
Let's pick a city as an example. Let's pick Bucharest. What would be the steps that the mayor of the city or the president of the Ilfov council, Ilfov district, should take into consideration in order to start creating more areas, basically adhering to the concept of 50-minute city, because basically Bucharest cannot be a 50-minute city. It's too big to be the entire city of 50-minute city. So probably it should be the base for many areas that have all the functions that you're talking about. What should do the city mayor? What should do the mayors of each district of Bucharest? Because there are 6 districts, sort of arrondissement as in Paris. What should they do? Like a plan. Let's say that Mr. Nicu Șordan would see this podcast and say, oh, this guy is very smart, I like Mr. Moreno, I want to implement. What they should do?
Yeah. I proposed already to the mayor of Bucharest and the mayor of the 6 districts a path for going in this transformation. The first one, we need to establish a scientific diagnosis of the use of the infrastructure that exists today and to understand what is the rhythm of the daily life for people that live in Bucharest. We need to be supported, to be backed by science. We have defined 6 essential needs for increasing our quality of life. The first one, housing. What is the real condition for people that live in Bucharest? Housing is not only to have a roof and 4 walls. Housing is at the same time to access to the different services. We need to understand what is the kind of people that live in an area, the profile, the socioeconomic profile, the socio-demographic profile. The proximity and the essential needs are not the same for a teenager, for a pregnant woman, for a couple without children, for a couple with children, for elderly people, for sick or disabled people, etc. For that, the first one is to understand where people live, what kind of people live. The second point, we need to understand where people supply, where people have an access to the essential things. And this supply, we need short circuits or not, the origin of the different patterns. The first one, the well-being. Where are the medical services, mental, physical? The first one, the question of access to education, schools, libraries, cultural center, theaters, movies. The fifth one, the question of public spaces. What is the use of public spaces? Well, capability, by capability, green areas, less pollution in water and air. And the sixth one, where people work. So far, close, incorporated with the district, in co-working, etc. These 6 essential points, we need to establish a concrete diagnosis with a digital map for accessing to the geospatial data analysis. And after that, we could observe, not as politician or not as a partisan, but as scientist, what is the state of art of my city. And the second point, to define a trajectory for increasing the quality of life by the mixity of the accessibility for these functions and the mixity for people that live in my city. This trajectory, in fact, we need to propose the different districts with the pilot operations. We have today with my team, with the European Union, a cluster. The name is Driving Urban Transitions. And the European Union today has funded different projects for cities, including in Romania, for developing this initiative. The name is 15-Minute City Transition Pathway. I was in Bucharest 3 days ago for evoking with the European Union, with the Secretary of State of Romania for European investments, this kind of projects. And particularly with my team, we have a Horizon project, Green Generations, and one of the members of the consortium is the Bucharest District 2. This is the concrete project today,
Yes.
working in progress.
Okay.
Just for saying, we need to establish a scientific diagnostic, to establish a roadmap, and to start with the concrete project, because in reality, for transforming a city in a 15-minute city, we need to reconquer street by street, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood. This is not a magic wand for saying from my office, I want to the 15-minute city. We don't have the fairy tales for that. We need to transform block by block.
So it's not a Harry Potter fairy tale. This is real. This is very real. Mihai, if you want to add something.
Also, I think Cluj was in this list, the Bucharest Sector 2, and Cluj also can be.
Suceava,
Suceava.
Buzău,
Yes.
yeah. It's a list of 10 cities, as far as I know, right?
Yeah.
From Romania.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, you're right. This is the project M100,
M100.
climate neutral cities.
Yes, yes.
I was invited for the evening, the opening keynote for the second day, with the presence of Laura Hettel, in charge of the European Union, the European Commission of Smart Cities, Revigorate Innovation for Cities. She is in charge of the Horizon and Driving Human Transitions, including 15-minute city transition pathway with the national government. And we have today 10 cities in this movement, climate neutral cities. But for being neutral, climate neutral city, we need to transform concretely the shape of the city. Our city in general, and in particular in Romania, are unsustainable just because we have implemented for more than 9 decades this zonification. What is the situation in Cluj? In Cluj, we have in the one extreme of the city the places for working, and at the opposite, the place for living. Cluj, this is a city in the vertical line.
Exactly.
And for people, we have created at the opposite, the place for living and the place for working.
Yeah.
So we need a highway for connecting that too.
Of course.
Or means of transportation, probably a metropolitan train or metro. It's better than highway, because any highway that you build probably sooner or later will get crowded with cars. Because
but Carlos, I want to ask you, in Romania, we have 30 years of democracy. We had it's after communism, yes. So after 30 years of democracy and I don't know, 1,000 kilometers of highways, something like that.
No, it's more.
It's more than 1,000.
Used to be.
Okay, thank you, Dan. I want to ask you, the speed of construction in Romania is very slow. So we don't have the power to do that changes. So we need to take the baby steps. We need the baby steps for Bucharest, for Cluj.
I can tell you now we have 1,100 kilometers in use, 800 kilometers in execution, and 300 kilometers in
we will
auction.
not compare with Germany, but in transformation from 15-minute city concept, we need the baby steps, and also Romanians like the example. Okay.
Yeah. I went yesterday to Brasov.
Okay.
Brasov, this is the middle city in Romania.
Yes.
I visit the Coresi district.
Yeah, it's our favorite.
Yeah?
It's
love
very
it.
good.
The Coresi district. What is this district? During the communist period, this was the plane factory.
Yeah.
Yes.
before the communist period. During the communist period, was transformed in a tractor factory.
Yeah.
After the communism, these 121 hectares were transformed in less than 12 years in a 50-minute city eco-district.
Yeah.
The reality of this Coresi district, in my opinion, this is the really positive example, because in 12 years, 121 hectares are transformed for offering this social mixity, a functional mixity. We have people that live, people that work, schools, medical services, commercial activities, green areas. We don't need a car in this place, restaurants, and at the same time, they have preserved the historical memory of this place.
Yeah.
At the center, we have the roundabout for pedestrians with a plane. They have kept the images of tractors, etc. 12 years for developing this 50-minute city system in Brasov is just a proof that it is totally possible. What is the secret of the Brasov for this transformation? The convergence between the agreement of the mayor for saying, go straight, okay, we have 100 hectares, your project, this is a good project for revitalizing. Second one, a vision for seeing we wanted to develop this polycentric sector. And the first one, the business model of investors that they have turned the business model for proposing the high-level construction, high-level buildings with this a strong mixity for offering the concrete transformation for reaching this new lifestyle. Why we couldn't replicate this kind of model
I can tell you.
in other places?
Because
this is the question.
121 hectares.
It's very hard to find
It's
in
very
some other cities.
In Bucharest we have, I don't know what.
No, but this is not the question. Your comment is a very good comment, and I have used for that. And I said, in Paris, you don't have a
1 hectare.
surface.
Not 120.
Nothing. What is the secret for Paris for transforming? We have established a very precise diagnostic of our city, 120 square kilometers. This is a small city, 2.2 million inhabitants. And we have identified a lot of different buildings unused or with the bad uses or obsolete uses or technically no more available. And we have took these different buildings for transforming the business model, for recreating the multipurpose activity, for refurbishing these buildings, for regenerating more capacity community buildings, for generating the new business model. We have today a lot of different places. The former Ministry of Defense transformed today in a new centrality. The former historical shop Tati in the north of Paris transformed in the new 50-minute city district. The former administrative building transformed in the new centralities. The former army buildings, etc. The former cinema, the former lot of different buildings unused, transformed in that. This is not a question to have or not hectares, just to establish a diagnostic of the building as a surface that we have today. What is reality? What are the different uses or unuses?
Carlos,
Given that,
one more
we could
comment.
establish.
One more comment, and then I will let Dan after that. In Bucharest, Nicu Șordan, the mayor, blocked the real estate. It's very good, but the economics, they are in difficulty now because they can't do buildings, and that is not good for real estate. Also, that is not good for our 15-minute city, because if you are not doing baby steps for this, we are not anywhere. So,
Yeah, I have an example on this topic. One of the developers in Bucharest have a urban regeneration project on a former industrial site. It's very well located on very close to the Nota railroad station, with the metro station exactly in front of the project. So basically, you have means of transportation to go anywhere in the city. Schools, retail area, everything you need in the area. And the project looks really beautiful with some structures kept as at Coresi in Brașov, with a lot of community sites, a lot of pedestrian areas. But he chose to block it together with all the other major developments because he always says that they bring traffic into the city. And you know, this is a vicious circle because actually the legislation in Romania say that in order to build, you need a number of parking lots. The same legislation says that the city council can decide that you can have less parking lots if you have, let's say, a design area that has many means of transportation, but nobody has the courage to say, okay, you can build there without any parking lot. Having too many parking lots increases your development cost and increases the price of development and basically increases the prices for clients at the end. Who is right in the end? The mayor blocking the development or redevelopment projects, or the developers that say, look, in order to build 50-minute city, you need to allow us to really build in the end.
I didn't have the opportunity for discussing with the mayor of Bucharest, but my point of view is very well known. I think that the way is not to block or not to block. This is the false dilemma. The real question is, what is our ambitious plan for transforming our cities, given that the state of art of the infrastructures, buildings, equipment, and services that exist today? I totally opposed in permanence to this kind of decisions. I block because we need to block if why? To avoid more people that
cars,
arrive of cars.
but Carlos, in history, the blocking is good.
Not the blocking of
what?
blocking of what?
Of anything is wrong. so in Bucharest,
But this is not wrong. This is the dilemma.
This is the dilemma.
And what's wrong and what's good in the end? You know?
so the big projects are good, but the smallest are not so good for Bucharest. So they create a density where we have a lot of density of people and of cars. So that's the dilemma. That's why Nicu Șordan, it's good for blocking. It's very good. The real estate prices are very high now. We will get to Paris. I think in 5 years we will be there
probably
with
Paris
the price.
will increase in the meantime as well.
My point of view is different. In my opinion, is the question is not to block or not to block. For me, the question is to transform here and now. To transform radically. The real question is why we have in Bucharest. I think that we have the number of car equivalent of the number of inhabitants. Maybe this is
Exactly,
similar. The question is we have in absence of more different centralities for allowing people the possibility to have a choice, and at the same time to develop another, including measures for avoiding that people use cars. This is not a problem to block, but not to block the development of the city. To block, for example, with the low traffic neighborhood, the presence of cars. The low traffic neighborhood, the LTN, are the measures took by a lot of different mayors around the world for a long time until recently, to define what are the areas of my city more impacted by the presence of cars. But I want to insist in a point of view. We need to establish a strategic short, mid, and long-term ambitious plan for a urban regeneration. We need to justify by science what are the concrete conditions for a daily life, for a work life, where people live, where people work, where people access to medical services, where people use a car, what are the most constrained boulevards avenues by cars. We need to bring a scientific response for that. And just with these scientific studies and results, to propose a strategic plan to transform. In the city of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, when she said, we will cancel the motor highway along the Seine River, this was a really unpopular measure, but it was totally necessary because this was the source for 100 to 100 kilometers of traffic jam daily. And of course, a lot of people said Hidalgo is a dictator, we need cars, the artisan need a car, the plumber don't need a car. Today, nobody says, I want to use my car alongside the Seine River. We have transformed the mindset of cities. The question is not to block or not to block. The question is to transform concretely. For saying, I am a mayor, okay, I will propose this plan for avoiding cars, for humanizing my city, for developing my capability, for developing my capability, for developing more centralities. I have in Bucharest lot of unused buildings. We need to transform these opportunities and to revitalize. I think that in Bucharest it's more complicated because we have a mayor and you have 6 local mayors, each one by district. And I'm not sure that we have a really a strategic plan aligned between the global mayor and the 6 districts.
Let's say not yet. Okay. I hope that not yet. I have a vision of Cara Victoriei is the main historical boulevard, you know it, in Bucharest, to be transformed fully in pedestrian area. It would become probably one of the biggest one of the longest pedestrian areas in Europe. And I asked Mr. Nicu Șordan last week about this topic, and he was very, very keen on it. I love that. So again, we are not against the mayor of Bucharest. We see that he has many good strategies and has a good vision. We are against what you say. You don't have to block things. We need to think of how to transform them in a proper way. You said that the Hanze-Bexo conference that we held in June in Bucharest, in which you are a guest speaker, and thank you for that. And we have you as well here in Cluj. Hanze-Bexpo, that cities, in the context of climate change, cities are both the problem and the solution. In this statement stayed with me with in all this period in which we didn't see each other in these few months, and I was thinking about this topic because it's clear that this century is the century of cities. We had the last century of nations, 2 centuries ago and 3 centuries ago probably the century of empires, and at this point we are in a position in which probably more than 80% of the population will be concentrated in 50 years from now, probably even sooner, only in a couple of major urban centers. How do you find this in the context of 50-minute city? Because basically more people will come to the city, so it's even harder to design this this livable 50-minute cities with all the functions aligned around each district. How do you see this?
Yeah, your resume is perfect. The question today is in what kind of city we want to live in today. This is the real question today for mayors, for stakeholders, for citizens. Today, cities are the place for living for the majority of people. In Europe, you are 75% of urban dwellers, and the question is, what kind of city is my choice for living? In Europe, we have lost the humanistic model of cities in the legacy of the 19th century, when we had cities built with the more capability. The European cities were with the mixed uses. We found local shops in several points. We have accepted to transform our European cities with the model of the car-centered cities.
American way.
The American way.
Yeah.
Because the American way was the model imposed after the Second War, in particular by the expansion of the Athens Charter of the Le Corbusier as founder of the modern architecture and urbanism. And we have accepted after the Second War to transform our European cities in zonified cities. We have accepted the emergence of the corporate business district. In my city, in Paris, it was the case in 1962, when we have created La Défense, the biggest corporate business district in Europe, La Défense, 1 million square kilometers. And at the same time, we have created the residential areas at the opposite of La Défense. This was the reason for transforming 1 year after, in 1962, the banks of the Seine River into highways for connecting people that live at the opposite of La Défense for going to La Défense.
Exactly like in Cluj.
This was the paradigm that we have accepted after the Second War. And today, we are totally impacted by the degradation of our quality of life, and after the COVID-19, the attractivity of the corporate business district is no more available. La Défense in Paris today is in a real dramatic economical situation. We are not sure what will become the future of La Défense, because they have lost more than 20% of frequentation, and each month these corporate districts have been continuing to decrease in frequentation. And we need to act for that. This is the role of visionary mayors. When Anne Hidalgo said we need to reverse the banks of the Seine River, no more as a motor highway, but just a urban park for living. This was a visionary decision, even if at the beginning it will be so unpopular. But today, this decision, all people said, bravo, this was the real actions to transform our city. Cala Victoria, I know very well this avenue. This is a horror. This is awful. We have permanent cars, so fast,
Yeah,
Yes.
so fast, very noisy,
exactly.
lot of pollution, not only CO2 pollution, but the silent killer, the fine particles.
Particles,
Yes.
This is the dramatic situation. Yes, I support totally to decide to transform, not to block, to transform this way for having more pedestrianized way, for regenerating this area. My advice for mayor is to take these radical measures at the beginning of their mandature.
Okay, so in order to have time for people to get used to it. This is a very valuable piece of advice.
Yeah.
So you need to have balls when you first start your mandate. And actually, Nicu Șordan just won it. So probably, if he wants to do it, he needs to do it now.
Yeah.
No, the other mayors in Romania.
We need to act
No.
just after an election to take the more radical, ambitious measure. And the history will be right
in
for
your favor.
saying this was a visionary mayor.
That's very good. We're getting close to the finish line of our podcast. So, yeah, it was a wonderful discussion, and we still have like 9 questions on the list. But
I have one.
let's
So one and one.
let's be more pragmatic. One question, then a final word from
Okay.
you, Carlos.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, go.
You were speaking about Cala Victoriei and about the cars for that. We saw last year, in the last years, that electric cars are very good. Are electric cars helping the 15 minutes concept?
Not necessary. Not necessary, because a traffic jam with a diesel car
It's still a traffic
is a
jam.
traffic jam with an electrical vehicle.
But it's
at least you don't find
non-polluting.
particles.
Non-polluting.
Not polluting. Less polluting.
Less, okay.
Less polluting, because be careful. An electrical car is one of the most important vectors of fine particles pollution.
Why?
Because the fine particles are produced by the contact between the tire and the brake and the road.
Okay.
This is one of the most productor point of the fine particles. And the electrical vehicles have the power.
The power.
The power have a more low center of gravity. The contact between the tire and the brake with the road, with this presence of battery, is an important generator of fine particles. This is less pollution by CO2, more pollution by fine particles.
Okay.
And anyway, a traffic jam with the electrical vehicle is a traffic jam as well.
Yeah.
Bucharest is the 3rd European city in time lost by traffic jams,
We know. And
After?
now
Which ones?
after Milan and Dublin.
Dublin?
Dublin and Milan.
Yeah,
Milan
the
and
first
Dublin.
one Milan, the second Dublin, and the third one is Bucharest. The equivalent of time lost by traffic jams in Bucharest is the equivalent yearly of the 8 days.
We stay
It's
8
a lot.
days in
It's a
cars.
lot.
Yeah,
This is truly a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, but you're talking only about European Union, because if you put Istanbul on the list, though, it gets upside down
Oh, we
again.
have a lot of candidates.
Probably we got.
So we are good.
London
We are
as
not
well.
on the first place, so we are good.
So if you put Istanbul and London on the list, we get out of,
Yeah.
of the top 3. Okay.
London have developed lot of improvement.
Yeah.
Sadiq Khan was re-elected for his third mandature.
Yes.
He has implemented the law, limit zone traffic.
Okay.
He has developed the bikeability, walkability. He has limited the entrance of cars at the center of London. And for the last elections, 4 months ago, he was re-elected
Yes.
without problem.
I've been 2 weeks ago in London, and I used an electric bike.
Yeah,
It was perfect.
yeah.
So not like us are that trottinettes. I don't, how do you say in English? But the electric bikes are perfect for the city. Perfect.
This is a good example of transformation.
Okay.
Yes.
Sadiq Khan is totally committed. He is the chairman of the C40 cities,
Okay.
the international network of cities for fighting against climate change. And he has implemented so unpopular measures.
Yeah.
And he was re-elected. This is the historical re-election for the third mandature for the first time. In a particular moment with the far right, with the racism, is very present. Sadiq Khan, he's
Muslim. Yeah.
absolutely, and
Exactly.
he was re-elected.
My question now, but before that, I want to congratulate the 10 cities that are part of the climate neutral action. They chose to become climate neutral until 2035. So before the limit that EU set. So the 10 cities are Alba Iulia, Bistrița, Brașov, you talked about Brașov, București, Buzău, Constanța, Iași, Oradea, Reșița, and Timișoara. I love Timișoara from this list because it chose to have 37 parks for a population of 300,000 people. So as one park for less than 10,000 people, this is really a great measure. And now coming back to my question, and this is, probably you had this question before. It's probably one that the detractors of the concept of 50-minute cities want to hear, and now the comments started to come all in line. You know that there are some critics that say that 50-minute cities limit their personal freedom by confining people to set zones. And we saw where this belief went, even to the context in which they say that it's a conspiracy against humanity, and we want to put people like in Game of Thrones, and all these things. How would you address these concerns? One of the answers probably would be that we need to look at this thing as scientists, but these people don't look at these things as scientists. So, please.
Yeah. No, in fact, I'm avoiding to discuss a long time on these kind of insanities.
Yeah.
Because in reality, these people are the same people that are climate skeptical. Even the same people that said the Earth is plate. The COVID-19, it was a biological
conspiracy.
Conspiration. The vaccine, it
With
was
Bill Gates, yeah.
for shipping 5G control.
All these things were happening the last few years.
This is the same. This is the same dark conspiracy people, and at the same time, these people are specialized for creating, promoting fake news, deep fake news in permanence. When they said with the 15th city we wanted to reduce our movement, Paris has implemented this model. All people during the Olympic Games could observe that we are totally free for going elsewhere. We don't have limits. These people said we wanted to control the brain of the people for introducing 5G. In reality, these people are in the way of a dark movement based on the negationism. The science doesn't exist. Why I am the target of these people? This concept has become very popular worldwide.
Yeah.
In a lot of continents, in 5 continents, we have the implementation of this concept. Automatically, for these people, the scientific development are not a reality. In the brain, I'm not sure if it is the brain. Just in the words of these people, they said, if we have a concept that has become global in all continents, automatically this guy, Moreno, is a member of the invisible global governance. And he said he is an employee of Soros, he is a member of the global invisible governance even during the night. He is an alligator. My wife could confirm that this is not the case.
You definitely don't look like alligators.
No. We had this marvelous film, Don't Look Up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is a Don't Look Up.
The one with Leo DiCaprio, right?
Yeah.
Very good one. Loved it. Very good one.
Don't Look Up. No.
Yeah.
These people is totally blind by this is darkness. Darkness. This is not inspiration. Darkness behavior.
What is the solution? Because actually,
we don't have solution for conspiracy.
There's no solution.
Just to continue to advance.
The way I think. Okay. So if you try to answer their concerns, actually you give them basically reasons to continue. So the best way is to ignore them in the end and just continue to do your thing.
Is to act. The best way is to say, in my city, in Paris, we are very proud of that.
Yeah.
We have today more than 500 cities in the world inspired by this concept with a lot of different informations.
Excellent.
We have created the Global Observatory of Sustainable Proximity, UN Habitat, the United Nations, with the oldest international organization of mayors, United Cities and Local Governance, and my team. The Global Observatory of Sustainable Proximity, this is the concrete response, because we have a lot of cities around the world intertwined for promoting the best practices of this happy proximity.
Excellent.
And people that want to know if we have or not this way for limiting, our response is go to the website of the 50-Minute City Initiative Explorers. This is a global movement, and we could examine more than 300 concrete cities that have decided to implement this model.
Excellent. I love the discussion, and I think Mihai as well. Carlos, we will stay even longer, probably 2-3 more hours, but of course we have limited energy, and now we need to go to eat.
This is a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
In proximity.
So, in proximity, exactly. In proximity, 50 minutes walking maximum. So I challenge you to say something to Romanian people that are living in Romania and also in Europe, in some other parts of the world, how they should react and support your mission and everything that you're doing, because 100% you're doing a lot of good to the world and to the cities, and how they can help you, how they can support you in this mission that you started all over the world.
The best support today for promoting this initiative is to take part in this transformation, to act, to join us by the Global Observatory of Sustainable Proximity, by submitting new initiatives, to take part in the new scientific developments, to take part in the discussions, and to continue to enhance this concept. This concept is alive. This is not a static concept. After launching this concept 4 years after today, we have including new proposals, etc. I want to invite people to join us, to take part in this transformation.
And to talk about this, because you know, it's a small thing, just talk about 50-minute city, but you do a lot of good, because many people around the world will hear about it and will start supporting it.
Absolutely.
And both authorities and private sector need to know about this thing and need to feel the pressure
citizens.
to start doing it. I believe in this saying, we need to take back our cities. Because if the cities are taken by cars, they're not our cities. Yeah.
Yes, and more, the question is not to have or not a car. The question is deciding what kind of city we want to live in.
Yeah.
Where we wanted to find our local services. What kind of services we need for having a quality of life. To decide that we could be an actor of the decarbonizing transformation of our cities. To decide that we could develop more employment in proximity for reducing our CO2 emissions. It's better to decide the two things now than after, when we have our street totally flooded and our cars transformed and just machine in the river of the former streets.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Carlos, for being with us at NZEB Expo. NZEB Expo with you is even a better event, and 100% you helped us a lot this year. People came to see you, and they will come to see you tomorrow as well. NZEB Expo became this year the biggest event in the construction real estate field, and we thank you for that. We thank the entire team for that, and hope to see you also in the future. Mihai, if you want to say something else.
What I want to say is that you can come more often in Romania because we would like to see Bucharest or Cluj or Constanța or any of that city to be a 15 minutes concept. We would like to live in your city, in your 15 minute city concept.
Thank you, Mihai. It's a great pleasure for coming again in Romania, of course. Nice places for living, nice places for not only visiting, but for working.
Yeah, that's right. We'll wait for you. Thanks a lot, Carlos.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mihail.
Thank you. See you in the next video.